right, this week we're talking about Helldivers again because it just stays in the news cycle sometimes. Emulation on iOS, and a couple of interesting Xbox stories that you might enjoy. That's right, it's time for the Game News Show. Let's get right into it, which I wanted to start with the Delta emulator because it launched officially. We had all the drama with the knockoff code rip version that came out and was unfortunate and filled with like ads and other junk. But this is the official Delta emulator. This is from the guy that made GBA for iOS. It is a very good emulator. But I would like you to notice that it is currently number one in entertainment on the App Store. And I think it's pretty awesome. You know, it's not surprising to see an emulator being number one. I have downloaded it and I am enjoying playing Pokemon Emerald for the very first time. I may not play. I haven't gotten too far. I may not play it much, just so maybe we can stream it and make a whole event out of it. But the emulator is very nice. If you haven't checked it out, you should absolutely download it. It covers Super Nintendo, NES, Game Boy Color, GBA, and N64, and the results are pretty solid. And yeah, definitely worth checking out if you haven't already. Good on Apple for opening up emulation. However, we have an article from Time Extension in our next topic here that kind of bummed me out. Don't hold your breath for Wii and GameCube emulation on the iPhone App Store. It's just not possible right now. There's a fork of Dolphin. So Dolphin being the popular GameCube and Wii emulator for PC. I believe it runs on Linux. I don't know if it runs on Mac OS natively. I haven't looked into it, but it is the popular PC emulator for GameCube and Wii games. It's a very good emulator. There's a fork called Dolphin iOS, Dolphini OS, Dolphin iOS, and it's not currently possible due to technical limitations. Without getting too far into it, basically, there's some code that needs to be translated in emulation that makes the games run, and it needs to run fast. And right now, Apple prevents that from happening. And it's just an app-wide, store-wide, OS-wide decision. And they don't seem to be loosening up the rules on that, which means that games can run, but they're just not very fast. They're not very good. It needs the improvements that would make the games run better. I hope this eventually, maybe they find a workaround or something. But yeah, I was kind of hoping to see Dolphin on iOS pretty soon. Looks like that wait will be a little bit longer. But hey, you know, technical breakthroughs happen all the time, just not very close together. All right, let's move to our next story. One of my most exciting releases, I'm excited that it's finally coming. Jedi Survivor, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, is coming to Game Pass via EA Play on April 25th. That's in just a couple of days at the time of this live stream. Here it is on Xbox Wire announcing it. I'm pretty excited because it's great. I played the previous game in the series and very much enjoyed it. We will probably be streaming my playthrough of this one as well, though it is a much longer game from what I understand. I'm just glad to be able to play it, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad I waited. Apparently, like all the patches and stuff that released the game runs really well on consoles now, and there's nothing to worry about there. So if you haven't picked up the game and you're patient and pay for Game Pass Ultimate, hey, welcome to the club. Your patience is paid off. You get to play the game at no additional charge. And that's really cool. I'm excited to dive into it. Let me know in the comments if you're going to be playing Jedi Survivor thanks to it coming to EA Play. I know I am. All right, let's go to our next story. We have Valve updates Team Fortress 2 to support 64-bit, boosting performance of the 17-year-old FPS. This is weird. This was April 19th, courtesy of IGN. Valve has updated its near 17-year-old competitive first-person shooter Team Fortress 2 to finally add 64-bit support. Update, which some fans are calling the most significant from Valve itself in years, should result in a performance improvement for most users. Reports indicate TF2's frames per second count is increased by around 20%, resulting in a much smoother experience. So you have to consider 17 years ago, multi-core processing wasn't like native, it was still new. And games supporting this stuff wasn't a thing really. So Team Fortress 2 when it launched did not have multi-core support technically. So now that it has 64-bit support, it's much more efficient on the CPU side and your GPU probably as well. So that's pretty cool. I'm excited that this game gets an update. I don't play TF2 at all. The orange box version didn't stay up to date with the PC release, so I didn't really play it all that much. But it is a fun game, and I know it has a very devout following, so it's cool to see Valve supporting it, even though they killed the Source 2 version fan make, which I found weird that they did that. But yeah, so interesting, but cool to see if you're playing Team Fortress 2 or haven't and want to. Well, now it runs a little bit better than it did before. You should absolutely check it out. If you like hero shooters, to me, this is like the original hero shooter, class-based, character-driven shooter. Like, it's fun. It's a fun time. All right, let's talk about Helldivers. Man, I didn't scroll back up on any of these apparently. Helldivers 2 CEO says, after success, the goal is now simple. Make this the best live game you've ever played. This is courtesy of PC Gamer. And we'll read it a little bit. A huge part of Helldivers 2's appeal, man, that's hard to say, is the game's ongoing galactic war, a push and pull conflict between the players and the enemy factions that sees planets liberated, territory lost, and casualties on a multiplanetary scale. Conflict is guided and shaped by major orders, which identify targets and offer rewards. With yesterday's example being a minor classic, the Helldivers were given a week to squash 2 billion bugs, a number so unfathomable some wondered whether it was possible. They did it in 14 hours, which is insane. That's a lot of people playing Helldivers. There are so many more layers to how Helldivers 2 is unfolding, the game's narrative and surprises, such as how mechs began leaking in a coordinated fashion before appearing in the game for everyone. I thought that was a very cool approach. The way that just the community was so excited, and it's like, they're in the game, they're real, and then nobody believed them, and everybody thought it was like made up, and it's like, no, it's happening. And like the way it rolled out was super cool. The developers themselves have in some cases become personalities, because by far is Game Master Joel, who's become a community meme. But almost as prominent is Arrowhead CEO Johan Pilestead. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Who regularly engages players with a winning combination of straightforward answers and super Earth propaganda, which is awesome. But anyway, he's responding. So the whole point of the article, there was a Reddit post about the community riding a fine line between constructive input and whiny entitlement. So basically, with any game community, as you know, gamers are don't understand constructive feedback and just want things their way, because they obviously know how to make games better than the devs themselves. I digress. So this is a Reddit post about, players being entitled and just wanting their way. And so the CEO of Arrowhead posted, I appreciate your sentiment in post. Arrowhead is independently owned by people working at the studio and not swayed by shareholders in the traditional sense. Of course, we're a great partnership with Sony, where we agree on targets to hit, etc. But there isn't a forcing function or requirement per se, talking about updates and things like that. So basically the community was upset that certain bugs are still not fixed while other bugs are fixed quickly. And it's like, if you've worked in any kind of development, some bugs are just easier to fix than others. And some bugs when fixed, introduce other issues. And so it's not just as simple as, well, this bigger issue should be taken care of first. It's just how development goes. Much less game development, where you have thousands of people interacting with your product, every single day. And you have to keep pushing updates regularly. And if they're a small team, yes, that's just going to take time. But let's read on. CEO says Arrowhead is still figuring it out. The demands and expectations on the studio are high. All eyes are on us, and we have a sole purpose: to make this the best live game you've ever played. We just need to find our stride and balance, which is a very important point. I mean, they've been supporting the game since launch. They plan to support it, for a while, but they still have to find a balance between just bug fixing, new content, and then planned things that are already in the pipeline that may introduce new issues. Like there's a constant like moving window of we got to fix stuff, but they're going to have to balance that with the new stuff, because if there's no new stuff coming, people lose interest. Case in point, the lull from the end of Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2 beginning, it was just, there was nothing, and it felt weird, and people were still playing, but it was nothing, and it got kind of sketch. It's like, was Overwatch 2 still happening? And then it came out. Anyway, so it's super cool. I'm not gonna worry about the rest of the article here, but it's super neat that they obviously know that their game is popular. People are loving it. Been watching a lot of my favorite streamers and content creators. I like playing it a lot, and it remains a good game, and I would love to be in on it someday. But there might be hope for a little Xbox nerd like me, because according to Twisted Voxel here, Sony is allegedly in preliminary talks to bring Helldivers 2 to Xbox Series X and S. So this is interesting. Speaking during the latest episode of the Xbox Era podcast, co-host Special Nick mentioned that there are some very early discussions ongoing regarding the possibility of Helldivers 2 being released on Xbox Series X and S. He believes that the current PlayStation boss is a little more open to certain things, hinting at the idea of experimenting with multi-platform console releases beyond just MLB The Show and Bungie's future releases. Which makes sense. I mean, Destiny 2 is doing... I don't know how it's doing, to be honest. MLB The Show remains a good release since it first came to Xbox. People are excited to play it on Xbox. It sells. It's super cool. Jiggin says, I just need to... Well, I can't read the emote. Anyway, I'm sorry. It's probably hilarious. I wish I could read the emotes in the chat, though. They didn't show up right. Anyway, Nick clarified that this doesn't guarantee Helldivers 2 will arrive on Xbox Series X. Oh, get good. They do need to get good. I mean, yes, to some degree. All right, anyway, Nick clarified that this doesn't guarantee Helldivers 2 will arrive on Xbox Series X and S. All he's heard at this point is that there are preliminary discussions going on in this regard at Sony Interactive Entertainment. The talks could end up falling to pieces, and they may have not come to an agreement in the end. Podcast members all agree that Helldivers 2 is a very Xbox-feeling game, and that would find success on the platform, which I totally agree. I'm not saying it should absolutely come to Xbox. It might not be the best move for Arrowhead or Sony, although I think that would be kind of short-sighted, because even just putting it on Game Pass, there's that guaranteed income from the Game Pass deal on top of any additional sales. Sure, Microsoft's going to take their 30% store cut, but that's money you're not making by not having it on Xbox. You know, there are people that are not going to buy a PlayStation for this game, or that aren't going to play it on PC because they don't have a PC that can run it. Like, there are people that have Xboxes and nothing else. There might not be many of them, but those extra people... Haven't I tried not being old so I can read them? They're just... It was tiny. Need to turn my shades in for readers. Oof. Chat just called me old. Well, kids, video games have been fun. Time to go. All right, anyway. So yeah, I think this game coming to Xbox would be a huge get for the Xbox community. To me, it would bring balance to all those first-party games that came out on PS5 just recently and are doing fairly well, dominating the PlayStation Store. Helldivers 2 would dominate the Xbox Store for a few weeks. I think that would work. You know, that would be a fair trade. I would totally get it. I would honestly, if it comes to Xbox, I will buy it day one and I will give away a copy on stream. That's how much support I would give to it. Hold me to that. If it comes out on Xbox, I'll do a giveaway. Just because I want more people to play it on Xbox. But anyway, all right, let's move on. So, yeah, absolutely needs to happen. I hope it does, but if it doesn't, hey, you know, maybe it wasn't the best plan. All right, speaking of PlayStation exclusives coming to Xbox, Kena Bridge of Spirits Xbox version will be coming soon, reveals new rating. I don't know if you guys remembered seeing this game during a PlayStation showcase state of play a couple years ago. It came out in 2021 and it looked good. And I was like, ooh, this looks like a good game. And apparently it's been rated for Xbox. Yeah, it has an ESRB rating. It showed up just recently, and that's, very surprising to say the least. But it's been on PS5, PS4, and PC. And now the Xbox may be getting it a few years later, but still, I mean, it's another option for Xbox players to enjoy a new game, a different game, a game made for modern hardware, maybe. I don't really know. But it's cool, and I hope to see it do well. The game looked really good. I remember the trailer had me interested. It looks, I don't know, it just looks like an adorable little platformer, and those kinds of games always get my attention. I come from that era. All right, let's move on to something a little more interesting. Less interesting? I don't know. It depends where you stand on the thing. This comes from the Outer Haven. Nintendo's exclusivity demand keeps Samus out of Fortnite, which I didn't even know was a thing, right? I've been out of the Fortnite loop, but I remember when Kratos and Master Chief came to Fortnite, a lot of people were asking, where's the Nintendo representation? But you also need to follow that up with Nintendo doesn't want to be on other platforms. Take a look at how Rocket League released. Rocket League is on everything, is cross-play. You can play with everybody, but there are hardware exclusive skins on Switch. There are on Xbox as well. Let's not kid ourselves. But the Mario and Luigi skins for your cars are only on Nintendo. They're only on Switch, and that's how Nintendo wants it. So this article says that Samus Aran from the Metroid series missed joining Fortnite's lineup due to Nintendo's strict exclusivity terms, which would have limited the character's appearance to only the Nintendo Switch version of the game. Okay, not surprised. The decision prevented Samus from appearing alongside other gaming icons like Kratos from Sony's God of War and Master Chief from Microsoft's Halo, who are accessible to Fortnite players across all platforms. I really wish they would re-release these skins. I really just want the opportunity to buy the Master Chief skin. That's all I want. Let's see. Donald Mustard explained that Nintendo insisted on restricting their characters to their own platform. Despite the potential excitement around Nintendo characters joining the Fortnite universe, they remain steadfast on exclusivity. Epic Games, prioritizing a uniform gaming experience across all devices, did not agree to Nintendo's terms, that's their prerogative. They want it to be fair for everybody. And the whole idea is the whole metaverse and, all of that goes with that. This revelation emerged following prior unconfirmed reports about plans to introduce Samus in Fortnite. The character's inclusion had been speculated, but was never confirmed until recent statements shed light on the behind-the-scenes discussions. Nintendo's stance highlights their careful brand management, dedication to maintaining character integrity, exclusivity within their ecosystem, contrasting with other companies' approach to cross-platform character integrations. So it's neat. It would have been cool to get, Samus. Samus would be a great fit in Fortnite, although I wonder how would she have held weapons and stuff since she literally has an arm cannon. It'd be the same for like Mega Man. If Mega Man X came to Fortnite, which would be super cool, at least he can like turn his hand into a blaster or a hand because he's a robot. Samus is wearing power armor with an arm cannon that doesn't turn into a hand. So I don't know how that would work, but I'm sure they had come up with something interesting. But anyway, I thought that was interesting to just go down that rabbit hole a little bit and imagine, would a Nintendo skin even be on the Fortnite store and be available on Xbox or PlayStation or PC? That would be wild. I don't know. Maybe Nintendo will come around one day. Maybe Epic will offer enough money to make it worthwhile. I don't know. Does Nintendo need that money? Probably not. But would they turn it down? I have no idea. All right. Well, let's talk about some other Xbox news. One, an Xbox VR headset, so you'll be able to get one soon. Sort of. All right, so I thought this was neat. Microsoft and Meta will work together to create a Meta Quest inspired by Xbox, though this image from Meta is not of an actual product render. So you can see like the black headset with the green glowy light or face pad thing. I don't know what it is. And then it shows Halo Infinite on the screen here, like they're playing Halo Infinite in VR, which would be pretty cool. It'd just be a large large display kind of thing, I would be down for that. But Meta just announced that the operating system that powers its popular virtual reality headsets will be available to other manufacturers. Microsoft, Asus, and Lenovo are among the manufacturers that will produce devices running Meta Horizon OS. Meta and Microsoft will work together to create a limited edition Meta Quest that's inspired by Xbox. And then we already know Microsoft and Meta have Xbox. Well, Xbox Cloud Gaming works on the Meta Quest operating system headset. So you can play your Game Pass games over the cloud, which would be cool. I wonder if anything would run natively at this point, if they have any plans for that, or if it would just be a Microsoft-made headset running cloud gaming primarily. That would be kind of weird and a huge waste of money. Just personal opinion on that. But that's kind of cool. I wonder if the Xbox branding would do anything or what that could come with. I don't know. My guess would be Microsoft is trying to move into what's known as the ARM platform, which is what basically has been powering like smartphones forever. Well, those processors and chips get more powerful every year and are doing things that big old desktops are doing and much more efficiently. So, we may start seeing a lot more ARM hardware powered Microsoft stuff. I think it's rumored that an Xbox handheld would be also ARM powered, and that might tie into this headset. If they can get Xbox games emulated on ARM hardware and it's really good and they're running, I'll say natively, but it wouldn't quite be native. Maybe it could be. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes there, but if it did, that would be the time to do it. Release a VR headset and release the handheld. And whatever, I think there's a couple of Surface laptops and tablets that are coming that will be ARM powered, and it's just there's a lot of hype behind it. If you look at what Apple's done with their M1, M2, their M series chips, they're doing really well. They're very performant. They're playing AAA games. There's a lot going on under the hood there that makes those experiences work really well, and Apple's push into gaming there makes a lot of sense. And so Microsoft is going to look to third parties to build silicon that will do the same thing for Windows or whatever OS, in this case Meta Horizon OS, which is neat. I'd like to see it. I'm looking forward to what this means. I'm not a huge fan of VR personally, but options are always good, and seeing Microsoft do anything in the VR space that people actually care about might be important, because HoloLens was supposed to be super cool and it turned out to be super lame. And now it is dead. So anyway, all right, let's move on to our last story, which is just an event announcement. IGN Cross ID at Xbox Digital Showcase returns April 29th, 2024. So April 29th, we'll be getting a update on indie games like Vampire Survivors, Dungeons of Hinterberg, 33 Immortals, Lost Records, Bloom and Rage, and more. And I will attempt, this is a Monday, I will attempt to do this as a reaction stream. I don't know if I'll have the time to do it, but I would like to. If you guys want me to do a reaction stream, let me know in chat, let me know in the comments. I will try to make it happen. I'm excited to see, the indie showcase from Nintendo last week was pretty solid. Got a lot of cool things. Let's see what Microsoft is bringing with their ID at Xbox line of games. Let's see what's coming. I'm looking forward to it. And that will do it for the game news tonight. Let me know what you think of any of these stories down below. Kind of a light news week, but some cool stuff happening nonetheless. If Helldivers 2 comes to Xbox, though, that will probably be a game we play a lot. Quite a bit. Not gonna lie. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Thanks for liking the video, and subscribe if you haven't already on YouTube or wherever you're watching this. Appreciate it. If you're watching on Twitch, we're gonna go play Pokemon Unite now, so I'm gonna go do that, and see y'all soon. Bye.